So basically, if you're taller, you can simply get bigger. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be answering the question of, do short kings and or manlets have it easier in the gym and have an easier time packing on size and looking jacked in the gym? So I'm going to be answering that question today, but it all started with this post by Gym Fail Nation. Amazing Instagram, by the way. Real funny memes, all that kind of stuff. Definitely go follow them. I'll have their Instagram account linked in the description. It's so funny. But they made a post, and of course it's a meme, which I'm going to show you. So let's dive into it. Alright, so there it was. It was basically just a meme saying, oh, if you're 5'4", or whatever, if you're a short king and you start hitting the weights, you're going to look so much more jacked than if you're taller because you have a smaller frame. So when you put on muscle, it will look bigger on you. But, of course, it's a meme. Here's the thing. When you put on muscle, when you're shorter, you're not going to put on as much mass as if you're taller. Think about it. Let's say your femur bones are this long, and I don't know, this is just an example, versus this long. Who do you think is going to be able to put on more muscle in their quads? The guy with longer femurs, because the quads have to insert further down. It's going to be a bigger muscle. Why do you think, the biceps, for example, what's going to put on more muscle? Can you put on more muscle in your biceps or in your quads? Your quads, obviously, because they're so much bigger. Same applies as if you're a taller person. The taller you are, the more muscle the more mass anyway you can gain. But the catch is that, let's say you gain 10 pounds of muscle and you're 6 foot. Versus if you're 5'5" and you gain 10 pounds of muscle. It will look bigger on a 5'5" person because their frame is smaller. So if you gain 10 pounds of muscle, if you're 5'5" like me, it's going to look a lot bigger than if you gain 10 pounds of muscle and you're 6 foot, because your frame is bigger, so you have more you have to fill out. So obviously it's a meme, it's not true that if you're a short king, you're just going to blow up, but some people think it is true. So let's dive into that. So here I made a comment saying, so not true, lol. Always better to be taller, coming from a 5'5" manlet. And it is true, if you go in bodybuilding, it is always superior to be taller. If you have a good short man versus a good tall man, the good tall guy is going to win every time, because it's just nicer. It's to have that statuous physique. If Sebum was 5'5", he would not have a single Olympia title. But because he's 6'1" or whatever, and he's got that statuous physique, it looks a lot better than if you're shorter. And then this guy comments, it is fact that equal muscle growth with shorter limbs will look bigger. The meme has nothing to do with the height is better, only looking buff. And that is true. If you take someone who, like we said before, is 5'5", and they add 10 pounds of muscle, it's going to look bigger than if you're 6 foot and you add 10 pounds of muscle, because the frame is smaller. But then I replied, no, because if you are shorter, it's harder to gain 10 pounds of muscle than if you are taller, because your frame is bigger when you're taller, so you have more muscle building potential. And that is true. The taller you are, the more mass from lean tissue you can gain. But then this guy again replies, not correct. You gain muscle at the same speed, but shorter people will just look more jacked. Maybe at the end of the day, a taller person could possibly add more total muscle weight to their frame, assuming they had the same genetics. But even then, they won't look as big as a shorter guy with shorter limbs and bigger muscle bellies. So here's the problem with that. That is not true. If you take a 5'5", I'm gonna give you guys an example here. Let's say you take Sean Clarita. Sean Clarita, I would argue, is a very good bodybuilder. I don't have to argue that. We freaking know that. But let's take then Samson Dota. So Sean Clarita on stage weighs around about 170 pounds, and he's 5'2". Samson Dota weighs 300 pounds, and I think he's like 6'1" or 6 foot, somewhere around there. If what this guy is saying is true, that shorter people gain just as much muscle as taller people, why is the weight gap from Samson Dota and Sean Clarita so massive? And then you might be arguing, well, Samson's taller, which means he has bigger bones and whatever. But if you take 300 pounds and you minus 170, you got 130 pounds left over. Do you seriously think that Samson Dota just has 130 pounds of bone on his body and that's why their weights are different? No, it's also because he carries a lot more lean mass. So then I comment, what's so wrong? If that was the case, why does Sean Clarita only weigh 170 on stage? Why is he so far off Samson Dota? Yes, of course, Samson has bigger bones, etc. But if you're saying the muscle gain should be the same, there's no way Samson carries over 130 pounds of bone on him compared to Sean. So I'm going to give you guys another example. Let's say Sean Clarita and Samson Dota, they both start training. Let's say Sean, his first year of training, he weighs 100 pounds, and Samson weighs 150. I'm just giving out random numbers here. I'm not saying this is actually what their weight was. If let's say they were both twins and had the same muscle building genetics per se. If they both train the exact same way, over the course of a year, their percent composition of how much muscle is on their frame compared to their height would be the same. But because Samson Dota is taller, he's going to put on more lean tissue to match the same, in order for him to match the same percent composition of lean mass on his body, he has to gain more muscle than Sean Clarita because Sean Clarita is shorter. So let's say for that year, let's say Sean puts on 10 pounds of muscle and he's 5'2". I don't know if he's actually 5'2", by the way. I'm pretty sure he's 5'3", 5'2", not actually too sure. So let's say he's 5'2" and he gains 10 pounds. If Samson Dota only gained 10 pounds, it wouldn't look as big on him because he's taller. So in order for it to be equal anyway, Samson would have to gain maybe, let's just call it 20 pounds. Not saying that ratio is actually accurate, but he would have to gain more weight in order for the percent composition of his height to his lean mass to be the same. So if you're taller, you have more potential to build more muscle. It's just how it works. The muscle is longer and it's bigger to start out with, meaning you have more room for growth. So basically, if you're taller, you can simply get bigger. Sean Clarita can never have the same amount of lean tissue as Samson Dota when they're at their full genetic limit because Sean is so much shorter. He just can't. Now, proportionate to his height, yes, he can, have the same look or whatever compared to his height, but he will never have as much lean tissue. So I hopefully that clears it up. If you are taller, you can gain more lean mass than if you are shorter. Again, this is just a meme. Obviously, some people still believe it to be true, but I'm telling you right now, it is not true. And I would also argue that just being taller for bodybuilding in general, it's just better. Like I said before, if you got a good short man versus a good tall man, the good tall man is gonna win every single time. So there it is. No beef towards this guy or anyone who believes that, but hopefully that clears it up. If you are taller, you have more potential to build more muscle. That's just how it works. But that's gonna wrap it up. So if you guys have enjoyed, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.